Everyone just joining, welcome. We're so excited about this. If this is your first time coming to one of our sessions, we're building Lora. It's a new kind of self-discovery platform rooted in astrology as kind of the on-ramp. And part of our early work here is really spotlighting some of the amazing practitioners in this space, everything from breath work to astrology to Reiki, tarot, everything in between. And Jessa is an amazing astrologer that is in our community and has kind of volunteered to lead this amazing workshop with all of us. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be really kind of awakening and just an important time in general, given the eclipse and just everything that's going on with some of the crazier astrology this year. So yeah, I'll hand it over to you, Jessa. If you guys have any questions, please just put them in the chat. We're going to do a Q&A towards the end with about 15 minutes left where we can open it up to more birth chart questions, anything like that for Jessa. But we just ask that if you have any questions during, just keep them specific to the chat. So thank you all so much for being here.
Great. And if you are adding anything in the chat, I will now move to the presentation just so we have that, but I will go back and I'll just kind of go through those at the end when we open to the Q&A. So you're welcome to just put those in there. And if there's little moments I can, code switch and answer something that's super relevant to the slide or something going on, I will as well. So welcome. If you haven't already checked out Lora, I'm sure you have, and that's how you found this. I'm so excited to be a part. There's so much. If you want more personalization, whether you want a reading with me or someone else, there's an incredible marketplace of practitioners, Discord with people sharing so much in community, and there's just going to be a lot of resources for you. So I've been practicing astrology for years, and I think this is one of the coolest things that I've ever seen since I started. So definitely, welcome. And I'm glad, we all get to be part of this powerful community together. All right. So before I know that it's 6:32 and I think we're going to have bulk of people in the next 5 minutes. So the beginning of what I want to say is we are in the intensity of the eclipse energy, this actual moment. This was the perfect time to have this workshop. Is everyone just feeling how intense this is? I'm guessing a lot of you have had today and in the last week either endings, beginnings, moments of just feeling so much overwhelm, anxiety, sluggishness, sleeplessness, exhaustion, an emotional roller coaster, blasts from the past. All of these things are happening. Something that came out of the blue that was awesome, something that came out of the blue that was negative. All of these things are totally normal. You're right on time. You are part of the human experience, and you are in a group of people that are feeling the things that you're feeling. So I want to start by saying that. The other things I want to preface, we've got us so tired lately, totally. And please feel free to go in the chat and use that as much as possible, because even if I'm not answering all of it, you'll see each other's experience. And the best part about being live on something like this is the community experience we get. Even if you don't know each other, even if you don't see each other's faces, there's something that our nervous systems co-regulate together by existing together in this moment in time and coming together. It makes the healing so powerful. So please use the chat. The other thing that I want to share for you is that we will have a recording of this. So just a little bit on the housekeeping of all of this is that I want you to experience this in the way that's going to be healing for you. Maybe that means that you're going under your weighted blanket and you are just listening to this with your eyes closed. Maybe that means you have a notebook and you're feverishly taking notes. Maybe that means you are throwing tons of things in the chat. Whenever we talk about astrology, we're sort of getting into the future. We're also going into self-discovery, and a lot can come up for us emotionally. And what's most important that we engage with this is that we stay really connected to ourselves and that we use it for healing, which means we take this moment to really listen to ourselves, to really understand how we want to participate. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I don't care. I'm here to serve you. So I want you to kind of take that moment. I will have, here's some things if it's helpful to you. I'm going to be sharing dates with you. of this eclipse cycle, of the eclipse cycle we had like 10 years ago in these signs, of things that are coming up. And one thing that I personally love to do is go back into my photos, my Google Calendar, and my journals later to kind of look and see what was coming up at that time. You don't have to do that now, but if you want to take any screenshots or write those down so you can do that later, it might give you more understanding of what you're going through. So I just want to let you know that. I'll pause when you can take screen shares, and I'll have brief moments of just like short moments where you can, journal or look at those reflections if you want. All right. I see we're sort of filling out. Hi, everyone. I'm just going through really quickly just to see all of your beautiful names so I can acknowledge that you're here and just kind of energetically connect to you. All right. Great. So I hope that helps. We're all set. We're ready. We know the experience we had. So let's go into this. My name's Jessa Messina. My pronouns are she, her. And if you need a visual accommodation, I have shoulder length blonde hair and a green kind of tank top. I'm actually wearing the same shirt that I have on in this photo. I swear I have more shirts. That was a total accident. All right. So I'm going to talk about eclipses, and then I'm going to skip over and really get into, what this cycle is about. Some of you may hear people on social media going, it's a full moon and it's an eclipse. Well, it's always a full moon when it's a lunar eclipse. We have every 6 months, we get a supercharged supercharged new moon and a supercharged full moon. So these always kind of happen. There's every once in a while, there's a year where we have more than 4 eclipses, but on the regular, we will have these. So this is not an abnormal thing. It's a really, normalized experience, just like Mercury retrograde. We have about 3 of those a year, and we have 2 eclipse seasons with 4 eclipses every year. So that's totally, totally normal. When it's a lunar eclipse, it's basically an overwhelming full moon. When it's a solar eclipse, it still feels almost like a full moon because it's just this intense energy of the moon. And when we have these moon transits, it's always a deep connection to our body. We are actually understanding our own lived experience in a very, very, very somatic way. The reason I bring that up is because I want to normalize your emotional experience, and I want you to be very gentle with yourself. I want you to notice if any old traumatic memories are coming up, old patterns are coming up. Your pain is a teacher, and your pain deserves care and gentleness. And so I always start with that framework. I have a very much wellness and mental health background, and so that's sort of like always the framework that I bring in. The thing about eclipses is they stay in the same set of signs. So they have what we call sister signs, or things that are opposing. So if you were to look at all the 12 signs in a big circle, there's an axis. Virgo and Pisces are opposites. They're on one end. And we just had eclipses in Aquarius, Leo on that axis. 2 weeks ago, we had the Aquarius eclipse. When we're on, those cycles will sometimes overlap, right? So we started the Aquarius Leo cycle while we're still finishing the Pisces Virgo cycle. February 17th, you can look in your calendar, we had that eclipse. It had a very different vibe than this one because it was part of that different axis. But the cycle we're in now is one we've been in since 2024. Eclipses want to tell you a story. They are all of these big moments, these beginning and endings in this big, big way, but they're part of a connected story. And we've been going through this story since 2024. And we're going to look at those dates too. The other thing that we were talking about at the very beginning for my early birds that were here is that oftentimes, especially if you have these big Virgo and Pisces placements, you are purging a lot. So that's also why we feel all this so deeply in our body. We have been going through these massive changes, and our body is trying to process that, whether it was a very external journey for you, like maybe jobs ending, relationships ending, huge moments of your life that are changing, or it was a very internal cycle, depending on where you have these signs in your chart, what houses they're in, what planets. It could be an internal cycle. Maybe you got over a pattern in your life, an addiction in your life, a way of existing in relationships in your life. But regardless if it was internal or external, your body is processing those changes now. So it's really good to know that. I think there's nothing better than normalizing all of those things. And also during these cycles, we might feel this occur very much in our personal life, and we can also see it coming out very globally as well. Now, I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I want to look at why this is happening in such an intense degree. Before we go as much into the eclipses, what I want to tell you why, because some people are like, wait a second, why does this feel so crazy? I think this is like the most intense Mercury retrograde and the most intense eclipse. Everybody I know is saying that. Before I got on this call, a friend of mine was also a fellow Virgo, was saying, why is my life blowing up right now? Why is work so crazy? What is going on? And I said, this is not normal. The reason that if you're feeling this big intensity, the reason that you are feeling that is because so much is happening on both the on the Virgo and Pisces axis. So we just ended literally a few weeks ago Saturn in Pisces. And before that, we ended Neptune in Pisces. When Saturn was in Pisces, that was about a 3-year cycle. When Neptune was in Pisces, that was since 2011. So these are huge cycles that are filled with so many lessons and changes and experiences that we were going through. All of that happening in Pisces. On top of that, the Mercury retrograde is in Pisces. So this axis, it's like this part of your chart is being absolutely lit up. Now, when the Saturn in Pisces and the Neptune in Pisces cycles ended, it was this chapter or this book of your life was closed. But this eclipse happening in that same axis and this Mercury retrograde also happening in Pisces is a final cleanup moment. You are going through a final cleanup moment right now. The universe is saying, wait a second, what were all the things you learned in Saturn and Pisces? What were all the things you learned in Neptune and Pisces? Are there any little scraps that we didn't clean up? The beauty of this is, think of like you went through a deep cleanse in your house. You know, most of it's clean now, okay? Most of it's clean, but because it's clean, you're going to be aware of those little things left in the corner. You're going to go over there and say, okay, I got to mop that corner of the house. Or wait a second, now that we moved all this stuff, it's very clear to me that the paint is chipped here and here. Ooh, it's very clear to me that this paint color actually looks terrible and I have to redo all of it. And isn't that easier than just like stepping into a messy house and feeling so overwhelmed by it? You should feel some relief that this is the final cleanup for you. Mercury retrograde that's happening right now that is so interconnected to this eclipse, because the Mercury retrograde went from 22 degrees of Pisces all the way down to 8 and back up to 22. Well, guess what's right in the middle? 12 degrees. That's the degree that this eclipse is on. So that degree is getting washed over many times. And we're really on that axis, and it's asking you, go through the house again, go through the house again, look in that corner, look in that room, look over there, and just find those little pieces. And after that, I'll give you peace. After that, you're going to feel some resolution, but I might make it extra loud at the very end. As I was reviewing this deck, I thought, I'm actually going to say this at the beginning because I want everyone's nervous system to feel a little relief. And I want you to start to feel the joy and the optimism that the messiness that you're experiencing now, there's an end date. You get to put the book away. You get to feel your house being cleaned again, and it will get like so much easier. So I hope that is really helpful. And as you're I want you to notice as well as you're in this workshop, pay deep attention to yourself, not just me or what I'm saying. I want you to notice if a memory or a thought comes up. I want you to stay connected to your body because we're in the eclipse. As I'm saying something, do you feel anything in your stomach or your shoulders or your jaw? This is a chance to really connect with that part of yourself and really listen to what your own experience is and what's coming up for you. Nothing will allow you to feel more calm and grounded than actually staying connected to your own experience. All right. So that's a little bit about what's happening there. Now we're going to go back. But I was like, wait a second, I want to do this a little differently. I'm going to start with that. So now let's talk about the dates. These are just good markers for the year. As I said, 2026 is just a regular 4 eclipses, 2 cycles. They're each 6 months apart from each other. So you can see that the eclipse we had over here on the 17th, it was a very different vibe. I'm sure different parts of your life and your energy were being lit up than right now. And we entered the eclipse cycle. So if you're wondering how long was this weird energy going on for, it's about 2 weeks before the eclipses start, so the beginning of February. And then you get an eclipse, then 2 weeks later you get another one, and then it sort of ends 2 weeks later. So that's about 6 weeks, twice a year, that you're in this bubble of eclipse energy. And in that, one of the reasons why people will tell you don't try to manifest things, don't try to take big actions, it's because, as I had on this slide, one of the big things that I love to make sure people know is all the tectonic plates are shifting around you. Everything is in the process of moving. And so you're not going to sort of see clearly or know what it is you even want to manifest until those things settle. When the dust settles, the thing you thought you wanted a month ago might be different because the landscape you're looking at is different than the landscape that you saw before the eclipses happened. We want to allow things to unfold. We want to be the observer versus the reactor. We want to see, what in my life is moving? What in my life is changing? And why? And then we'll look at all the dates because that's going to help you put the puzzle pieces together. And definitely start to help you see, oh, I see this is connected to this or that. And I'm going to share some examples that have happened to me, that have happened to other people that I think really make it make sense. All right. Also, the only part that's really going to play out, so I'll tell you the other thing, because so some people are saying, this is another, I watched a lot of videos online to see what other astrologers and people were saying and kind of understanding what all of you might be taking in as you're going to this. And one thing I saw was people saying this is the end of this cycle. It kind of, as you can see, we have one more eclipse at the end of August that's going to be on the Pisces cycle. And in 2027, we'll have another one as well. And I think I have those dates on the next slide. Hold on. Yeah, right here. I'm skipping around. Mercury's retrograde. I was reviewing and changing my mind about how I wanted to do this. And that's totally par for the course. So I want to show you a little something. If you want to look back to understand, what is the book that I'm reading? What are the chapters that are unfolding? What's happening for me? What you might want to look at is starting back here. And this is where, if you want to, here's the things you can do. You can do it on this call, or you can just screenshot this, or you can write this down and do it later and kind of sit with yourself. September 17th, 2024. Then we had 3 of them in 2025, March 13th, September 7th, and September 21st. And then we've got March 3rd, voila, today, August 28th, and then February 2027. So here's what I want you to know. The one that's happening today it is the end in a certain way because it's the last one while the nodes are still in Virgo and Pisces. By the time we hit August, the nodes will be in Aquarius and Leo, and they're going to have less potency in terms of, we're not going to be as dominated by this Virgo and Pisces energy. So this is the last banger. The other two will still be endings, but they'll feel like a lot smaller in their energy. This is like a banger kind of ending in a big, big way. You may feel a lot of culmination from things that were happening back in September 2024. You may feel even a lot of culmination. I'm sure a lot of you had major things happening back in September, and things are coming to fruition from that, just September 2025. So these are great things. Sometimes I don't remember, and then I have this aha moment when I look at my photos and I can see even the things like, where was I emotionally? Who was I spending my time with? You know, what was I working on? You can also, another little fun one, especially if this is happening in like your 10th house or your 6th house, go through your work emails. What were you doing there? Because something like that could come up for you, and you're going to really see how things are panning out for work. And I know a lot of the job market is a little crazy. So if you're a job seeker, you might think about like, where was your head at when you were looking for jobs, and where you were then too. Another thing I want to take any morality away from this. When we say consequences and we talk about karma, people think that means you're a good person and you did good things, and so what happened to you is related to that, or you were bad, you messed up, you did a bad thing. No way, okay? Consequence and karma do not have to do with that. Karma literally translates to action. Karma literally means one action created a magnetic pull to the next action. Some of that was totally in your control and some of it wasn't. So let's say you ate sugar. You are now more magnetized to eat a little more sugar. Does that make you a good or bad person? No. So when we think of karma and we think of the consequences of our actions, these are consequential, but they're not correlated to someone's morality or what they deserve. I think, that's a huge thing that I like to say, because I think a lot of us in astrology, we can get caught up in this stuff. We start to have a lot of fear, guilt, and shame around our chart. We think there's such a thing as a bad sign or a bad chart, or we got something that we deserved or we didn't. And that is so much really not it. And I like to really clarify that. So there's, this is only for your healing, not for increasing any of, those negative emotions. All right, let's go backwards now that we've got that. I hope you all got the dates. At the end, if there are any slides you missed when we do the Q&A, you tell me, we'll go back and I'll make sure you screenshot it. All right, hopefully you got that though. So let's go back now. Let's unfold a little bit more about eclipses. Like I said, they're fated moments. So you want to pay attention to what is happening in your life, even if it's subtle. Now, a fated moment doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I got this new job, everything worked out. It could be, I feel, and I love this one comment on here. I'm going to go back to that in a second because it is really important and relevant. It could be, but more likely eclipses show you you almost have to squint to see it. It's a little seed that's planted, and you may not know how that unfolds for another 6 to 18 months. You could also see coming to fruition the seeds that were planted back in September, or back in 2024, or back a year ago when we were also having those eclipses. So you just want to look at the seeds that are planted that are either beginning or ending for you now. The fated moments too, there's something about the people we talk to, the places. Notice, like, did you end up in a certain place with a certain person? Did you bump into someone? Did someone call you out of the blue? These are all really important things, and extra important because there's a Mercury retrograde. We had a Mercury retrograde in Virgo in September. So we were also having a retrograde happening in the same cycle then as well. So those, I think, were very correlated. You also might get a redirection. Here's the thing I want you to see too, is what we think rejection is protection is redirection. So if something you really wanted to work out, that you really hoped was going to be good, doesn't happen the way you want it, this is a moment in time where that might just be absolutely awesome. wait, give yourself time to see how that actually unfolds for you, because it could be the best thing that ever happened. Allow eclipses to make space in your life for something else. If you had a, quote unquote rejection, what we want to really rephrase or pronounce differently as redirection, what it might be doing is saying, you know what, the universe wants you to have this space, clear it out, let yourself make room for something else. And I mentioned before the energy surges and the exhaustion. Here's the other thing. While eclipses can be very revealing, they can also be very blurring. There are things revealed, but you may not understand it for like 6 months. You may not understand it for a little while. So give yourself time. Don't expect that you're going to get it. And also, please don't make any rash decisions unless it feels like I can't not do this. I've been posting a ton on my TikTok, and I made a TikTok saying like, don't make rash decisions. And my comments were filled with, too late. I quit my job. I broke up with this person. This happened, that happened. And I just thought it was so funny. When those things almost feel absolutely unavoidable, it's okay. If you are on here and you're going to tell me I dumped this person, I sent this message, I did this thing, there are moments where that's absolutely necessary, because the eclipse is saying there's no other way. I will not let you not do it. And so we just want to be thoughtful about it. When we can wait 48 to 72 hours and sit on our decision and just know that you're in a heightened emotional state. However, sometimes we just know so deep within ourselves that it's the right thing. And so listen to you, not me. You will know if you need to make those big decisions, if it was the right one to do. All right. Now, what are the unique things that we want to do with the themes of the Virgo and the Pisces? So we actually, when we're in the Virgo eclipse, it's really going to be about discernment. So we just hit that eclipse early this morning, and we have these 2 weeks that we're coming down from it. I want you to notice what you're sort of discerning and decluttering. If you thought about getting on a supplement routine and you were like, you're feeling that pull, you know what? I'm so, maybe you're thinking like, I'm so sunlight deprived. This winter's been nasty. If you're in New York like me, I'm getting my vitamin D. Or I noticed myself, I bought one of these. Does anyone else have one of these? This is one of those little therapy lights. I was like, I felt a pull. I'm getting one of these. I put it there. I'm getting a better bedtime routine. I'm taking more care of my skin. I personally feel those things come up. I am a Virgo, for my fellow Virgos out there. At the beginning of this call, you all will not believe this. The first person that asked a question has the same birthday as me. How funny is that? I found my birthday twin. So if you have big Virgo placements in, or, you are a Virgo, you may really notice that extra, but I think everyone will start to notice. Remember, Virgo rules the 6th house. So we will, and listen to yourself. Maybe you're like getting more Virgo-y yourself and you're like, my bed must be made. I can't stand the clutter. Listen to those things coming up, because that makes Virgo happy. Every sign has certain actions and behaviors that make it happy inside. And Virgo loves to be discerning. It loves to feel like it's taking care of the little things. Pisces loves to say, screw the little things. Let's look at the bigger picture. Like, what's going on? Let's be philosophical about it. Virgo loves to say, to get to the bigger picture, it's all about one step at a time, and it's all in the details. So if you honor Virgo, you'll probably suffer less during this time. We always want to honor the season and what it's asking of us. So if you're looking for a way to make this better, listen to what could you do for your nervous system? What could you do for your physical health? What could you do to have just more discernment in a situation? Knowing, how much, not too little, not too much, just right. Virgo loves a kind of Goldilocks moment. So those are some things you can kind of do to honor it. If you like to sage your house, go for it. If you want to buy a new set of bed sheets and make sure they're, crisp and clean on your bed, I would say anytime we're going through a lunar cycle, change your bed sheets. Take an extra shower, take an extra bath, energetically cleanse yourself, wash your hair, wash your face. Do these things because it helps revive your energy a little bit. I'm a big person on energetic cleansing and just the energetic etiquette. I find it always helps clear something out. All right, so do's and don'ts. Rest and give yourself permission to slow down. Please, please, please do that. If you have PTO and you haven't used it and you are overwhelmed, you can have me write a letter to your boss and say you need I'm just kidding. But seriously, if you can, take it. If you can block off an hour and just take a nap, take a little snooze, please do it. I'm not a good napper, but if you are, do it. If you want to also, like, I would suggest a little less caffeine or anything jittery. I'd also suggest less any mind altering substances because the body is more volatile during eclipse times. And so what normally might be okay might sit in your body differently at this time. So you want to sort of notice what you're, even the food you're eating. Notice, am I too full right now? Does this feel okay for me? How does this make me feel in my body? Am I nourished? And the biggest thing is filling yourself with what nourishes you and really being discerning about putting things in your body that don't. Journal and take note of everything. Well, if you have dreams, please write those down. Have something next to your bed. Really look through those. And then discharge energy. Do not let yourself become energetically and emotionally constipated by having yourself just like full of things that are flooding your nervous system. The other day I was in the city and I was just so overwhelmed. And I'm going to tell everyone this because I think if you hear me saying this, you might feel less self-conscious doing it yourself. One of my favorite things to do in New York City is just cry. I just like walk in the street and I cry. When I'm flooded with energy, I just let it out. I went between meetings. I ran from one to another. I had so much going on in my mind. And I just started, Alexa does too. I just started crying because then I felt this huge relief and I could go into my next meeting and feel fresh and present with the person that I was with. So, I love to tell everyone to cry. It's one of my favorite things because I don't think any of us cry enough. We're so like ashamed of doing it. Also, if you've got someone you can talk with that you feel safe processing with because you feel safe in their vulnerability and they feel safe in your vulnerability and vice versa and all of that, this is a wonderful time to do that. If you want to take a bath, I love baths for this, especially if you have salts, they can pull those energies out for you. If you want to dance, if you want to run, anything that moves energy out for you. Some of you will feel the need to socialize and connect with people. Some of you will feel the need to unplug and not do that and have your own space. There is not a rule book. There is a discernment and noticing what's working for you. We already talked about the other stuff. We don't want to manifest, remember, because we don't know the tectonic plates and how they're working. So like, if you don't know what you really want, why would you want to manifest? Wouldn't it be the worst thing in the world to manifest the thing that you actually don't want anymore? That would be terrible. You get it and you think, oh shit, what did I ask for? I don't want this. So that's why we don't manifest. Wait until the dust settles to know what you want. And it might be different than what you think. Okay. We already went through this, but if you didn't get those dates, grab them. And then here's something I highly suggest, just take a screenshot of this. This is a really, really good reflection. I'll read them out loud, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. So these are the type of things you want to kind of noodle around in your mind. What were the major themes for you during those dates? Did you notice things popping off for you? Were there things coming up? And here's another one. What I love so much when I think of a time period is whatever was going on these dates before, right? You are a different version of you than you were in September of 2025, March of 2025, or September of 2024. You now is wiser. You now has learned different things. The you that is existing now has information, wisdom, lessons, experiences in your body that the you then didn't have. So look at what you learned, what you let go of, or how you've changed your thinking. I think that what that does is it builds a lot of self-trust. And then I want you to think about how the themes of the Virgo Pisces axis played out in your life during this time. Okay, I had something go down with a friend of mine. It was not bad or good. It was just a little odd and a little out of place. And I kind of wondered, are we going to talk about it? And it literally happened days before the September eclipse. Well, sure enough, last week, she reached out and said something, and we talked about it and it all resolved. So it's such a funny thing that happens like that. So really, really looking at the timing and what those themes are and what was happening in those moments, because you will see kind of a shift. What is coming together or falling apart in relation to those themes? If you don't resist it, and here's the part about falling apart, when you don't resist things that are falling apart, they kind of fall off like a fruit softly dropping off a tree. When you resist it, it's almost like it has to fight to come off, and it feels really challenging. So this is a great way to lean in and surrender. And then what's confusing? It's okay to admit things are just confusing. It may not be clear to you. There may be parts where you're scratching your head and you feel frustrated. So note that too. Now you want to do a deeper dive. Let's go back to these dates, because this is the last time we were in this cycle. The nodes were opposite. We instead had Virgo in the north node and Pisces in the south node. This time we have Pisces in the north node and Virgo in the south node. The nodes sort of point where we have the north node is the point of growth. So wherever your north node is, things are getting bigger. You're also feeling more of an appetite and a hunger and desire for it. Where we have this, where the south node is, that's not where it is in your chart, but where it is in general. Where the south node is, you're finding loss. Things are letting go. Things are falling away. And so you want to note that too, like for my fellow Virgos, there are definitely more on the loss route, aspects of ourself, and different things that are very personal in our life, which could be, good, bad, or neutral. So even though the nodes were the opposite here, Virgo was in the north node and Pisces was in the south node, we were still on this. So you can also go back and look at these dates and see what was playing out for you, because this is like, it's kind of like for everyone who watched Heated Rivalry. I'm guessing a lot of you watched Heated Rivalry. You know how there's a set of books, the Heated Rivalry books, or Harry Potter, or whatever series of books you've had. It's part of the same series, but it's a different book. So say 2015 through 17 was one book. Now you close that book, it was done, but there's a sequel and there's a trilogy and there's another part, so every 10 years we get a new book in the same series, and that's what this was. So these dates, again, go back to your calendar, your journal, your photos, and see what was going on for you. And then here's some reflections for that. If you want to look at, and you can screenshot this again, and remember at the end, if any of these slides go too quickly, I will go back, and I'm seeing the stuff in the chat. I'm going to probably in like 5 to 7 minutes, not even, probably in like 3 minutes, go to the chat, and I'm going to go through all that with you. What were you going through between 2015 to 17? How have you changed as a person because of it? And what was starting, what was ending? If there were a chapter in the same book, what would that chapter be about? Or I meant to say a different book. I've since fine-tuned my analogy since I made this deck. So just think about that. And I'll go back in just one more second if you want that screenshot. We already talked about this. Remember, as I said, we talked about it at the beginning. We already went through this slide. If you came later, that's why I'm skipping over it a little bit. We were just talking about how we've got big Virgo Pisces energy and cycles that are so much more. It's not just this singular eclipse. There's so much happening that's telling of a story. This Mercury retrograde's going to end on March 20th. It's not going to last forever. The other thing I've wanted to say was that I think February was the most intense month of 2026. March is intense, but it is way lighter. Jupiter is going to go direct. Jupiter is the planet of blessings and goodness, and it's going to go direct, I believe, on March 11th. Hallelujah. For anyone with Cancer placements, bless you. You're going to get so many of those good things happening for you again. Maybe the stuff that was starting over the summer last summer before Jupiter went retrograde, when it first went into Cancer, it's going to come back and it's going to be big for you. And I love that for you. And I hope you get all the blessings. We've already got someone in the comments saying it feels lighter. I feel like it feels lighter too. The stuff happening in February was way heavier than this stuff. So give March a moment for the dust to settle. But if you've been following like the Chinese New Year stuff, the Lunar New Year with the Year of the Horse, and you're thinking, I still feel like I was in the Year of the Snake. This is so frustrating. When does it get better? January and February, we were still in 2025. Like we were still letting go of that. Once we get out of this Mercury retrograde, once Jupiter goes direct, once we make it out of the eclipses, there's more lightness in your future. And you're really going to start to feel the beauty of this Year of the Horse and what that entails for you. All right. So we've got a couple things. We're going to, oopsie daisy. We're going to go for some questions. I just want to say the designer of this deck, Lauren Simonson, she's on here and she makes these beautiful decks all the time for me. So if you like these visuals, I did not make them, she did. She's an amazing Philly-based designer. So here's a couple things. If you're hungry for more, one, if you are excited to really like let this year get lit, come to our guided breathwork. This is in person. If you're in the New York City area, this will fill up. So definitely grab that code and register. And then I'll leave this up. So if you want to book a reading with me, you can do that using this code, and definitely use this code because my best discounts and everything exist if you book through Lora. So you're going to get the best deals there. I have a little monthly astrology club that's just getting started. It's $22 a month. You can absolutely join that if you want, and I'll have exclusive events and we'll have like live chats together twice a month, plus a lot more content. You can follow me on TikTok, and you can join my newsletter. And this is a little bit about what I do. And now I'm going to pop in the chat, and I am here for your Q&A. So thank you so much. And Alexa has the code and everything there. It's AMA10. So when you use this, make sure you use the code so you can get as much of a discount as possible. And I would love to read your chart. I would love to sit with you and get to know your absolutely beautiful chart. Do you know that a chart the same exact chart can only come like every, I don't know, something crazy, like every 4,000 years or something. It's so wild. The imprint of who you are in the exact degrees at that exact moment is so special. And everyone on here, we might have some things the same, but our charts are so unique. So sitting with a person's chart is one of the most special things. It's like looking at their own magical fingerprint. And there's really no such thing as a non-magical chart. It doesn't exist. There is no bad sign. I know someone said something about a Scorpio moon earlier in the chat, and let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with any of you. It's just learning how to access that energy of who you are. And that's really what it comes down to. So let's go back. Let's see what we got here. And if you don't mind muting, we will have a time if anyone wants to share anything, but just so there's not too much noise. Okay. So if Virgo's in my 6th house, check and see if what I was doing in my email, workday, etc. for 2024 and 2025 days. Totally. Those are really good indicators. You can also look at your work calendar or anything like that, but the area of your life, it's going to give you more clues. Now, let's say that you have your Venus in Virgo, but it's also in your 6th and 10th house. It may then also be something you want to really look at your relationships, your self-worth. Like also the clothes you were buying, what your style was, because our Venus will come out that way too. As an Aries sun, I struggle with impulsive decisions all the time. I have a hard time figuring out when it's my intuition or just being rash. Well, let me tell you something, my Aries friends, you are so actually connected in an acute way. You feel things immediately versus it being super confusing. So listen to that. When you want to be impulsive, you've got more clues than anyone else because they come so fast and so hard. I have an Aries moon and I totally get it. The biggest thing that had helped me not become impulsive was checking in and realizing I've got all the access to all the data. Before I make this decision, can I slow it down just a little bit and notice what's coming up? Am I angry? Do I feel it in my gut? Do I feel it in my chest? And as I started to change the neural patterns in my brain to say, I want to do it, I do it, to I want to do it, why do I want to do it? Everything became a little easier. It's not easy, but with practice, it gets better. Me getting vitamin D supplement 2 days ago. I love that. I love when I say something and it validates what you're actually doing. Okay, how do nodes flip? What does it mean when they do? Because the themes would be the opposite, right? Kind of, yes. So we will get the same eclipse cycle every 10 years, but they will flip what the nodes are. So it sort of rotates, right? So every about 2 years, the nodes will be on one axis and then they switch. So there's 12 signs. So that happens over the course of, what was that, 2 years for 6 sets, 12 years. And then the next 12 years, it's the opposite. And it's still the same kind of lessons, but a little bit different energy. Virgo in the South node is very different than Virgo in the North node. And you'll probably understand it more than me explaining it, you looking at your own experience. So for instance, if you go back and see how that was playing out 2015 to 2017, you're going to really notice that those, your experience will tell you more about what Virgo in the North node felt like. This month feels lighter. February is so heavy. February did deep healing. Okay, so I hope every February was so heavy. We're getting this same thing. January is heavy. February was a little lighter as a Virgo. So I hope this is validating for my friends on here. And fill the chat. Let me know what your questions are because I'm here to answer. What transits were we looking back on from 2015 to 2017? That was the last time we had the Virgo Pisces eclipses. Those were not the Aquarius Leo eclipses. Those were happening in like 2017 to 2019. Literally, I was like, I thought I was shedding was over, what's happening. But yes, yeah, I know that. It feels like I thought the shedding would stop and it still felt like it was going, but it is getting easier. Hi, Jess, I was looking at the readings you offer. What's the difference between a natal chart or an introductory reading? Honestly, I think those are meant to be the same, to be honest. So if there's one that might be shorter in its time, I forget what it's up there, but I think look at the length of time that it is. There might be one that's kind of like a little shorty just for you to get a taste. And then there's a natal reading the first time I work with you. And I like to allow people to kind of, our chart unfolds as we get to know it. The way that I personally do readings is I want to get you information that you can digest and absorb. So I'll look at your chart and look at the most important standout things. Like, do you have a stellium? Do you have one planet placement that's totally different than everything else in your chart? Do you have major, like everything's in fire or everything's in water? Things like that. I will look at the major themes in your chart and then I'll look at the major transits that are happening and I'll go big picture for you and really look at the most important things and we'll talk it out. I'll also want to get to know like what you want to know about yourself and what's important to you and focus on those things. And then your chart gets revealed to you over time. I, for instance, never thought about my Neptune, but I just went through a major Neptune transit and I now, years, decades later, am obsessed with this part of my chart that I never paid attention to before. So you're meant to digest it incrementally, not in this overwhelming way that kind of floods you. So that's why it's totally fine to, that's why I have a discounted rate if I've worked with you before, because we can sort of continue this journey together. And I've done that, quite often. So that's why there's like, it's less if you keep going. I hope that answers it. So when it comes to houses, which themes are highlighted in the transit, and that really just has to do with what house it falls in for you. So, you know, if you have Virgo in your first house, obviously that's so personal to your identity. If you have Virgo in your second house, this is really going to be about your money. It's going to be about, do you save money? Do you spend money? Are you happy with the salary you have or you don't have? What are your views on money? Do you have fear around money? What do you think you're worth? How do you connect money to your self-worth? If it's your third house, I feel like that's a lighter house when things happen in the third house, but that's like your little social media, you know, your short communications with people, your neighbors and your neighborhood, and people that feel like family, but more like cousins and siblings and stuff like that. Fourth house is like your family of origin or the house you're living in now. Fifth house is going to be like it's like make art or make babies. It's kind of like your creativity, also your romance, those first, you know, like dates that you're on or that kind of energy that you're having, or your actual children. Sixth house is the Virgo house. So that's going to be everything that has to do with your health and your routines, and how you organize your life. Weirdly, it also has to do with pets. And your seventh house is your one-on-one relationships. Eighth house is how you're contractually connected to someone. It's the death and taxes house. Ninth house is the house of your like philosophy and bigger picture, how you look at life and travel, and everything's so expansive. 10th house career, 11th house community, and 12th house is like your very private place. It's what's happening behind the scenes in your subconscious. So hopefully that answers. That's just like the house is like on fire. Can you talk about trines and how anyone with a trine would be affected by the eclipses? Well, I love a trine. A trine is when it's 60 degrees away. So to be in a trine, typically it's in the same element. So if you know you have a trine, if something was happening in Virgo, if this is in Virgo, you have a trine if it's in Taurus or Capricorn. And trines are kind of lovely. Trines are usually almost like something is getting showered with goodness. When when signs are trying each other, it usually is just a lovely relationship. I think it's one of the easiest. Trines and sextiles. Sextiles are 2 signs away. Trines are 3 signs away. I have 0 personal placements in Virgo, but it's in my 6th house. What does this mean? And I have a Pisces moon. Okay, well, it's big moon energy for you because it's on the Virgo Pisces axis. So your moon is still getting pretty lit up, and and eclipses are a moon thing. So I would love for you to kind of understand what your body is telling you and what's going on there, and really an in-depth look at your emotional needs. Also, anything in the 6th house is so Virgo-y anyway. So everything we talked about, discernment, what needs to be cleaned, what needs to be organized, what can you throw out? For everyone, when you get off this call, can you go throw something out in your house? I want you to walk around your house and find 5 things that are taking up space and shouldn't, and throw them in the trash. If that feels too wasteful to you, you can put them in like a Goodwill bag. But a lot of it probably is just energy to shake out. My mom's an Aries and my dad's an Aries moon. Okay, so Danielle, you know, big Aries energy, right? Like you've totally got that. What about the blood full moon makes it not the best time to manifest? I heard cleansing is more compatible. Exactly. So what I had said earlier is it's not necessarily like the blood moon, but it's just the eclipse itself, because the tectonic plates are shifting. What you want may be shifting. You may not necessarily want the same thing 6 months from now that you thought you wanted. So you don't want to manifest when you're in a process of change and the things that you may really want for yourself are in flux. Have you ever asked for something and you got what you wanted and you regretted it? I have. I was like, I can't believe that. I did not think that through. It's like going to a buffet and getting a bunch of food and then like sitting down and being like, I hate this. That's why we don't want to do it. I have Pisces sun in the 10th house. What should I focus on in this eclipse? So that means you have Virgo in the 4th house. So a lot is going to come up on the 4th, 10th house axis. And in the 4th house, man, is that personal. The 4th and 10th are some of our big houses. Our 4th house is so personal because it's our family of origin. It's our roots. It is the things that you grew up with that are still shaping your beliefs. It's the traditions that you should or shouldn't be keeping anymore. So it's a big deal, and I would hone in on that. And even more when something's in your 4th house, do you want to clean your house? Because that actually helps us. There's something very healing about it. I find that always, connects me in a pretty deep way. How does the current eclipse affect me as a Virgo rising? Well, your rising is like such a deep relationship with what excites you about life. Your rising is how the world sees you. You might actually, people might guess your rising sign before they guess your sun sign, because it's the most outer layer of you that's interacting in the world all the time. Did I just make myself go closer by putting my hands like that? That was weird, right? Did anyone notice that? I don't get these Google meetups. Okay. Let's see. We've got eclipse was in my 4th house. We did that. Yes. Family time, also great. Family time for the 4th house is great if you want to be with your family. You don't have to. Some people have complicated families. Maybe they want to step back and not spend time with their family because they actually want to sort of understand those patterns. I think we're over time. I think, was this just meant to be an hour and 15 minutes? I'm so sorry, guys, if it was. Alexa, is it
keep going for another, like, I allocated to 7:45, so totally up to everybody else.
Oh, okay. I was so worried that I was going over. Well, okay, good. I learned so much about Neptune when it entered Aries. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're really on the same page, aren't we? Okay, got it. Thanks. I have a Venus in Virgo in the 11th house. What should I be paying attention to? I'm having a bit of a stuck feeling, but I feel like it's clearing. It's okay to have a stuck feeling because, again, the tectonic plates, sometimes some people are having an immediate ending and eclipses are going to feel so obvious for them. Some people have other things going on in their chart, other transits, other unique experiences, and the universe is saying, hold on. And it's just saying, like, let's wait here together for a minute. Let's just slow it down. And in doing that, it really will, you're meant to be, not, you don't have all the details yet. And that's okay. So don't rush the experience because it will come. Also, if anyone ever feels stuck, I want you to spend more time in quiet and in nature and be more curious rather than trying to push to figure it out. I want you to slow it down and ask more questions. Ask yourself questions. What does it feel? What does it mean to be stuck to you? What does being stuck actually feel like? What is stuck? Also, what is not stuck? What's coming up for you? What fears and beliefs come up for you when you think you're stuck? That's a really good activity. And the funny part is some of the stuckness will start lifting when you feel that, but also you might just get the breadcrumbs to figure your way out of getting stuck, or just have some really great reflections and lessons to learn until it lifts. Okay, my 6th house is in Virgo with a Libra North node sitting in it, and my 12th house, Pisces, and my South node in Aries and Saturn in Aries. How should I interpret the eclipse themes? Okay, well, you are having a pretty big deal time right now because you're entering your Saturn return. So that is a different story than what's happening for the eclipses. So you're actually having two stories going on. Some of the things that are unfolding in your life right now are the beginning of your Saturn return, and also Saturn going through your South node. Your North node is so cool because your North node is like your North Star. It's saying in this lifetime, if you go towards things that have this energy, you will be rewarded. You will live your best life. If you are looking in for direction in life, look at your North node. Your South node, it's not that you want to stay away from it, but you overdid it in another lifetime. Wherever your South node is, that's where you went just a little too far. And in this lifetime, you're learning how to go the opposite direction. But you've got a lot of gifts there. You have a lot of past life experience. You know what to do. And you might be able to still use that, but you just want to be careful you don't overdo it. When Saturn goes over your North node, it's going to really point that out quickly. It's going to say, wait a second. Let's make sure we're not doing that. And you're going to feel the burn very quickly if you go too far. So that's one story that you're going through. The next story that you're going through is very different. It's actually Virgo in your 6th house. You must also be an Aries rising, I'm guessing. And the Virgo in the 6th house is, you know, in its natural placement. So you're just having really Virgo-y things come up. Your 6th house is being lit up. It's really asking you those very Virgo questions that we talked about. You know, how are my health routines? How am I taking care of my physical body? Am I being discerning? Do I have too much or too little of something? Okay. Let's see. My Sun and Venus are in Virgo. Does that play out differently than the transits with the houses? I mean, it just all is part of this big story together. Your Sun and Venus, first of all, I love a Sun-Venus conjunction. When, especially if the degrees are close between your Sun and your Venus, when they're in the same sign, I just bet people want to hug you. I bet you're friendly. I bet you just have this energy that's so Venusian. And I know in Virgo, you know, is very much about service too. So I bet your love language is very much about serving others and doing acts of service. And people may not always understand it because it doesn't necessarily look as warm and fuzzy, even though a Sun-Venus conjunction is kind of warm and fuzzy. But it is quite lovely. So what I would love for you to think about, Nicole, is what are your values? What makes you feel loved, and how do you want to give love? And really what makes you, you know, shine. I was saying earlier, I'm a Virgo, and we've got our other Virgo sons here. For my fellow Virgos, we're really having a time. A lot is purging out of us right now because it's so deeply personal. And if you have a Virgo moon or even a Virgo rising, it's pretty deeply personal. But if you've got a Sun-Venus conjunction, I mean, that's even more personal. So just notice what's coming up and allow that process. I'm cleaning out my fridge as we speak. Sarah, I love that. I have a Virgo Sun, Venus, and Mercury, with my Sun and Venus in the 12th house, my Mercury in the 11th house. What does that mean in terms of this moon? Well, it means it's like pretty lit for you. That's a lot. That's exactly what I was saying to Nicole, except even more for you because you've got your Mercury there. But when all of that's in the 12th house, well, I guess the Mercury's in the 11th house. So there's a lot of 12th house action. Even though this is very much lit up, it's also happening a little behind the scenes. Whenever you're going through a 12th house transit, I would say give yourself time and space to digest this because it's so personal and because you need it. So much is boiling and moving from the subconscious to the conscious. And when things are moving from the subconscious to the conscious, you need space energetically and mentally to allow yourself to process that. Pisces in the 11th house, and I have Mercury there. Well, that's a chatty place to be. There are probably incredible conversations that you're having. There are, you know, a lot of new thoughts and ideas, but also remember you're going through a Mercury retrograde. So just notice how you're participating in community or how you're looking at things from that, like whether it's your local community or your global community, how you're participating in that, interpreting that, your thoughts around that. Remember, a Mercury retrograde isn't just communications getting messed up with like you and another person. It's also your thought patterns and your beliefs. Mercury retrograde is a rewiring of everything that has to do with words, and that includes your thoughts and beliefs. And when it's your Mercury, it's a pretty big deal. I can relate. I've been feeling so stagnant this past year. Mars, yes. Yeah, Mars perfection. Let's see. Pisces Sun, 6th house, Virgo 12th house. Yes, that feels so deeply. Okay, and the connection to my subconscious and body is unreal. Totally, 100%. All right. And let's see where we're at. Virgo Sun, Venus, Mercury. Yes, okay, we've covered that one because so many of you are having the same placements. This is wild to me. I feel like I'm finally centering in my life right now. Will the centering not stick because of the eclipse? No, it's going to stick 100%. You're just entering this part of yourself. What is happening is unveiling something for you. While the intensity may not feel as intense as this moment passes, what is happening now, especially what happens in eclipses, are very cementing, very real, very powerful. I would say what happens in an eclipse is something that has more potency and longevity than what happens any other time. So it's Saturn transits and eclipses tell you what's going to stick around, not what's going to pass through. In a Uranus transit, things kind of just come and go. Like something really big might happen, but it might be gone the next day. But when something is a Saturn transit or an eclipse, it's like putting down roots. It's something that's going to stay around. The intensity won't. Eclipses are a little cuckoo, but the things that are unveiling will. I'm in Aries rising. I've definitely been decluttering everything and focusing a lot more on my health and wellness. I've been feeling like I'm split between two different timelines and then I have a decision to make in both. So that makes sense. Thank you. I'm so glad. Okay. I realized I just hit some major goals in my fitness life and we were close to the same eclipse cycle in 2024, shortly before I joined the gym and began identifying the goals. Oh my gosh, Madeline, that's so cool. That's totally it. I love stories because they really share that. I went to this amazing, do you guys know Elizabeth Gilbert? She has All the Way to the River, a book that came out. Well, I was at this Kundalini training in September 2025, and then I went to her reading and I had all these revelations come up about this growth I wanted to have in my life and patterns that I had and things I wanted to move through. And now 6 months later, I'm starting to really understand it and see it come to life. So also, if you're entering something new or starting something now, you might be at the end of one story or you might be beginning it. But just trust also the seeds you plant, how powerful they really are. Okay, I have a Pisces stellium in the second house, just reconnected with my ex who has a Pisces stellium in the 8th house. Neither of us have any Virgo. Yeah, so what is happening in Pisces in your life? Oh, it did it again. I guess when I put my hand like that, it makes it closer. What is happening when a Virgo transit comes up, you're learning your lessons from the mirror of another person. If you have stuff in Pisces and it's in the opposite sign, it's saying you're going to learn it through another person. Whereas when it's in your sign, you're learning it through your own experiences. X's come back. It's also Mercury retrograde. So X's come back. My Venus in Virgo's the 29th degree. So I don't have a conjunction. However, thank you for those reflection questions. I'll take them away. Great. Yeah. Purging is a key word. Okay. Madeline liked the book too. If planets are 15 degrees apart in the same sign, is that close enough to be considered a conjunction? No, but it's still like the energy of that sign is lighting up, but it has to really be under 7 degrees to be a conjunction. But let's say it's every degree further apart, the less conjunction-y it is. Edit on that. They're just 4 degrees apart, Sun and Venus in Virgo. Oh yeah, that's pretty close. Okay, cool. Well, it looks like we had an end in the questions there, which I think is probably a really good ending point. I have had such a blast with all of you. I'm going to switch to this slide again. If you didn't get to register and you want to, and you're in the New York City area, please do. It's going to be such a celebration this year when we get to this equinox, because man, oh man, this was a really intense start to the year, and we're going to feel like we're entering a new chapter when we hit that eclipse. So let's come celebrate together if you're around. And I hope to get to meet some of you more, whether on TikTok or reading or at the event, and make sure you continue to check out Lora. There's so many incredible practitioners and community there.
Thank you again, Jessa, so much. This was just so exceptional, and it's so awesome to be connected with all of you and continue doing these awesome workshops and building this community alongside you. It's so deeply important to the work that we're doing here. But yeah, I am really, really excited to keep kind of hosting these. We'll be doing another one in a couple weeks, so stay tuned on that. You'll receive an invite link for that, along with a link to this recording as well. Be sure to follow and support Jessa if you're interested in booking a session with her. Like, please do so. She is so incredible at her work and in this space. So truly thank you guys all so much for joining. Really appreciate it and hope this was insightful and helpful.
Thank you so much, Alexa. I don't know where I went. This is the most retrograde thing that ever happened. I just disappeared against my own will. So thank you all so much. Oh, Michelle, you were on here. Michelle's another amazing astrologer who just did the most awesome Saturn workshop, which I got to watch and I loved. So definitely check out all the amazing community and practitioners at Lora, and have an amazing night. Thank you so much.